Mindset with Nate Schooler and Kim Adele.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm all good, lovely. How are you?
I'm good. Just thinking about these new starts, though. It's a bit like crossing your arms the wrong way. It's a bit, we were
I
talking
know.
about.
I think we had people doing that last week, didn't we? And we were talking today about like kind of the speed of change and fresh starts. And I guess it's been in conversations with lots of people, hasn't it? I know we're September, so it's not really the end of the year, not really the start of a new year. But for a lot of people, September has always been that moment where it is a fresh start. Maybe our children are taking that leap to the next school or to the next year or to university or leaving university. It's a time for reflection, isn't it? And what I'm finding talking to businesses is they're looking at and reflecting on whether or not they're as far forward as they hoped to be at this point. And you start to realize how fast time's going and the fact that, the end of the year is upon us, isn't it? If we don't make some changes now, then we're going to run out of time to be able to make them. And I guess that's why we decided today to be a bit quirky and like leap on literally within 30 seconds of saying, should we talk about this subject? Because actually, that is how change happens for us. Change is at pace. And sometimes we don't have the time to reflect, digest, go through the change curve. We know we've still got to go through it. We know that we still have to accept and acknowledge and grieve and all of those stages. But sometimes the change is now. And it's how do we best adapt to that? So we thought we'd style it out and see how it works, because we've not really thought this through, but we know a lot about change. Change is happening all of the time. So to try and debate, how do we deal with change when change is just thrust upon us? So as soon as I just thrust this upon you,
Yeah.
How do you feel about the change?
Well, I think initially there is a panic initially every time, right? It's like my dad, right? I'm trying to teach him or help him with his life, yeah? And, remotely, he's 88, right? And he gets very stressed about things that he sort of forgets that he's done, or he forgets where he's up to speed with, right? Like he's kind of a bit lost sometimes. And I think that's really so relevant to this, because it's like, well, actually, if we don't, first of all, we need to know where we're going. This is the first thing, right? And if we don't know where we're going, then we need to just stop what we're doing. And if it's not going to kill us, then we need to stop what we're doing and actually make a list of things that we actually want to achieve and actually create a vision. And that's the most important thing that I think I've done with you in the past year. When we created the vision for our business, that I found really, really useful. And then, every day we kind of say, well, is what I'm doing today going to help me towards the vision that I have we have for our business, right? And for me, that's like the most amazing thing, really, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it allows you to have that blueprint, doesn't it? As the old adage said, if you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there. And therefore you don't know if you're on the wrong path or the right path, because you don't really know where you're going. Whereas at least having a vision, having a plan, having a strategy, doesn't mean to say there won't be bumps along the road. It doesn't mean to say that you didn't think you were going to achieve it one way and actually life has other plans. But it allows you to be focused on where you're heading, which allows our subconscious brain, which, as we know, is our happiest little helper, to understand what's important to us. And in understanding what's important to us, it looks for opportunities to help us achieve our goal, to help us reach our destination and fulfill our vision. So probably one of the most important things, and it was fascinating, there was a study done by Harvard Business Review. And in this study, they went and asked people about whether or not they'd got a goal. And from the research that they did, only 13% of people that they asked actually had a goal, knew what it was that they wanted to achieve. More than just the what's your goal? And you go, I don't know, probably just to be comfortable or something. But these people actually had an idea of what it was. But only 3% of them had got it written down and had some form of action plan, irrelevant of whether or not that was a robust action plan or one that was never going to work. Only 3%. And they came back and they looked at the results of these two populations, and they identified the two populations. So 13% have had a goal, of which 3% had it written down with an action plan as well. The other 10% had got it written down, knew what it was, but no more detail. The other 87% either didn't have a goal or didn't have it written down, didn't have any clarity of what it was they were looking to achieve. When they went back and checked the results, the 13% that had some form of goal, written or not, achieved 10 times more than anybody else in the 87%. And that's because we are channeling our thinking, we're channeling our emotional brain, we're channeling our subconscious brain. And you look into like kind of the distribution of the world's wealth, and it's no real surprise that when we think about where 50% of the world's wealth is, it's in the top 1% of the world. And you layer that back to the 3% that actually had a goal and knew where they were heading. So it's so important that we understand what it is that we're trying to achieve and where we're heading, to help us to, one, go along that journey ourselves, but two, and perhaps more importantly, particularly if we're taking other people with us, is that we can take other people with us. We can help explain to them where we're going, why we're going, and why it's important. And some great points. It's not the people who change, but life and life situations that change. And that's so true. We remain who we are. Our values, our beliefs, they remain as is. They can be tweaked over time as we learn new experiences, or, for example, if we want to do the inner work that says the beliefs or the labels that we're using are no longer serving us, then we can go and make those changes. But fundamentally, we are who we are. But it is about how we respond and react and move forward with whatever's going on around us to be the most productive version of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having this goal, this vision of where we want to get to, sure, like Michael Tobin said in many of the interviews that we did, you're going to get Ubered along the way. Things are not going to go as you want them to go. But if you keep your vision, I mean, you say this as well, Kim, and you stay focused on that vision of where you want to be, you write it down, you think about it every day, right? And you aim towards it, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. Life situations can happen. Yes, you can be pushed backwards and it happens. But a lot of the time, you benefit from that actually in many, many ways. And it can build resistance, it can build resilience, it can build determination in many cases. I mean, in my own experience anyway, and other skills that you learn along the way.
Well, yeah, and I think if you know what it is that's important, and for me also why it's important, because sometimes when the what feels too hard, the why is what pulls me back. And there was an old trick I got taught many years ago, which is the next time I said, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the resources, or I don't have the whatever, try reframing that conversation by saying, it's not important to me, and see how well that sits. And I promise you it's powerful. Because the minute you look at that and go, it's not important to me to do that, it hits your value set. If your why is on the money, then it hits your value set, it hits deep in your emotion, and you're like, that's not right. It is important to me. And if it's important to me, I'll find a way. And we know I love a quote. There's a great one, which I love, which is, obstacles are the things that we see when we take our eye off the goal. And my other favorite is, if it's important to me, I'll find a way. If it isn't, I'll find an excuse. And I now hold myself to that, to go, is this really important to me? Because if it is, would I accept that excuse from myself? I might be more forgiving of others. I am probably significantly more forgiving of others than I am of myself, but holding myself to that account has really helped me to tackle changes that perhaps I didn't want to tackle before, but I'm so much more grateful on the other side. And to your point, I've learned more skills, and I'm able to better support other people in facing their challenges, in their moments where they're like, I don't know, I haven't got the time, the money, the resource, the energy, the whatever. It's finding that person who can go, I can help.
It's fantastically exciting with a new start, right? And I think what also is very interesting is you can be kind of you can be working in your business, right? And maybe you get a bit sort of bored or kind of not demotivated, but just a little bit overwhelmed with what you've got to do. But then another opportunity to kind of maybe market your business in a different way, or grow some sales channels in a different route, or, for example, learn some new skills. And those things actually can bring you back to your happy place. And that's, you know, that's happened with us, because we're building this IISAD, right, the International Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day website, and just focusing on that and saying, well, actually, this is going to become a really great resource for people who suffer from imposter syndrome, has kind of helped me to revitalize my energy, which was getting a bit stale because I was just sort of working within my little box of what I was doing.
And obviously, I mean, we're doing that to give back and to help people, but it comes from some of the research that we've done. Very often what happens, and we see this a lot with coaches at the minute, I'm getting a lot of coaches just wanting to have a bit of a chat because they're not getting as many clients as they want to. They're seeing that everybody's saying they need a coach, they need a speaker, but they're not seeming to be able to connect that work. And that's because very often we fall into the trap of working in our business, not on our business. And actually, our role is to work on it. So we've got to be able to, and you know, I lean everything I possibly can. That allows us to start working in it and start working on it, because that's when you start to see the opportunities that are around there to help you go and achieve your goal. But very often, whether you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, a senior leader in a big corporate, you get sucked into the day-to-day. You get sucked into being in the business. And actually, one of the most important lessons that you can learn is to carve out some time for yourself, to be really strict with that and focus that time on working on it, not in it. Because you'll be amazed the difference it has. I remember probably 15 years ago now, I used to do that on a Friday morning. I used to do Friday mornings from home, and my team hated it with a passion, because they were like, the amount of work you could get out in a Friday morning, because all of the things we were waiting for direction, for ideas, for ideation, for creativity, we were like, well, she's been that busy, she's flying all over the place, you know, it's off my desk because it's on hers. But they all knew that Friday morning when I got up, and because I'd carved out that time to just go, no, this is about, I'm going to first, before I start responding to those emails, I'm going to think about, where is it we need to be? Why is that important? Where is it we're heading? And then take a real stock of, where am I today? As you know, I use the GROW model all the time. I've been using it for years. It was great for that, from a revisit. What is my goal? What is it that I'm being asked to do on behalf of the organization? How do I check where it is? And then be really, really strict with myself on what's my reality. If that's the goal and the goal's unwavering, where am I now and why have I got here? How do I move those parts around? And then once I'd done that, and I would carve out the first couple of hours that would have been my original commute, and I would then go, right, with that revised enthusiasm, with that revised focus on where it is I'm heading, why it's important, what it is I've got to do, I'm now going to look at this stack of things that are on my pending pile, that are things that I'm being asked to look at. And I'm going to work through them at that pace with that renewed vigor. I'm going to be able to tell my people how what I'm asking them to do links into the bigger vision. So if they're feeling a little bit like, oh, I'm a little bit zapped of energy, as you've just explained, then actually start with something else that goes, this is why we're doing it. This is why it's important, re-energizes us. And therefore we can get the momentum to get through the tasks we need to do. I think it's a crucial skill. It certainly helped me over the last 25, nearly 30 years in navigating some fairly significant change for myself and for other organizations, because it keeps you centered on why.
Absolutely. Well, Kim, it's been really interesting. We have to go because we're booked in for another video, maybe live. We're not sure yet. So if it is, everyone will be happy to see it, because it'll be interesting. Thanks, Kim. And thanks for listening, everyone.
Take care, all. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Master Mindset. Please don't forget to follow wherever you listen and tell your friends.